Nestled against a majestic Rocky Mountain backdrop in Salt Lake City is the University of Utah, a proud, distinguished seat of learning. And at Utah, they've learned, among other things, the tested formula for a national championship basketball team. The Utes won that title last year, and here in this field house, they are plotting to repeat. Headed for a practice session are some of the boys who make up the title squad, a squad consisting mostly of 17-year-old freshmen, sprinkled with a few discharged servicemen. First, the boys circled the basket for one-handed pop shots, the Western style, which helped them beat St. John's of New York for the championship last winter. Now for some defensive drill, with the white team showing how it switches men in a zone defense. The same type of play in slow motion. Watch the man guarding the pivot switch to the one cutting in for the shot. Here's Utah's tricky out-of-bounds play, which has worked so well. In slow motion, the corner man blocks for 25, who spins around the stationary blockers to score. And now Madison Square Garden, New York, with Utah's name in lights for another game with St. John's. This is big league basketball. The tip-off. Utah in white controls the ball, and the Utes work it around carefully until they get it down into scoring territory for one of those short, sure passes to the pivot. The pivot gets it, whirls around, and Utah draws first blood. An interception by St. John's, but he's a little too anxious. Utah intercepts, and it's fired down to Ferrin, who drops it in. A long one falls short, but the follow-up falls in for St. John's. They square away to start the second half, and in a scramble under the basket, Utah tips one in. St. John's also knows the rebound business. This is the game with the blistering bounce for the fast and fancy. It takes the limit in teamwork and skill. And here is court craft at its best.
The LCI, Landing Craft Infantry, has spearheaded amphibious attacks all over the world. A powerful transport weapon of the United Nations, it has proved itself indispensable. But its fine performance is no surprise to the United States Navy. A model had demonstrated the boat's capabilities long before the first LCI touched an enemy shore. Here at the David Taylor Model Test Basin, the Navy tests and develops new craft of all types. When the first LCI was still nothing more than a set of blueprints, Admiral Howard and Captain Saunders, directors of the basin, went over its specifications, and a few hours later, workers began to build a model hull. They glued carefully cut pine board, doweled them into place according to plan, and dovetailed the joints. Then, when the hull was ready, the dynamometer was installed for power. The craft was trimmed with weights to give it the right balance. It was ready for testing. Night and day shifts had finished the complicated and precise scale model in 3 days. Workers moved it into the deep basin, where in the vast testing tank, the embryo LCI could prove itself. This 42-ton carriage, driven by electricity and oil at speeds up to 18 knots, can be controlled to 2/100ths of a mile an hour. Rails set to the curvature of the earth guard against gain or loss of speed from gravity. Here and in other tanks in the same building, models can be tested for lines, power, design, outboard devices, underwater rigging. Even projectiles can be studied. Such tests in miniature save hundreds of tons of metal, thousands of man-hours and labor, and valuable time that the Navy cannot afford to lose. The model is attached to the carriage, which acts as a guide and a control room. The boat moves under its own power. On the carriage, instruments tell the engineer every fact about the performance of the ship. When the connection is made fast, the engineer signals the operator at the controls, and boat and carriage move forward together. When the basin had finished its tests on the LCI, there was no guesswork left. The Navy knew, and the craft went into production. But as fast as one test is completed, another is begun. Here, for instance, a model aircraft carrier moves toward a launching trial in another part of the building. Hundreds of miles away in a naval shipyard, a huge carrier lay ready to be launched in a narrow channel. The problem, how far would the carrier ride? How quickly could it be stopped? This model told them the answers. Admiral Howard sent his recommendations to go ahead with the launching. The big carrier slid down the ways and rode just 10 feet short of the mark indicated by the test. Behind the ships at sea, backing up the interminable work at the drawing boards and the sweat of the shipyards, the Taylor Basin is constantly at work, giving the Navy ships that any commander is proud to take into battle.
Wherever you are, whatever you do, whether you're a soldier, WAC, sailor, wave, Marine, Coast Guard, or spar, this is for you. Here's a chance to pick up your education where you left off or study something you've always wanted to learn right in your own GI front yard, in the United States or anywhere in the world. Your Uncle Sam has started the greatest educational idea in years, the United States Armed Forces Institute. You can study science, mathematics, engineering, radio, accounting, or any of 300 correspondence or self-teaching courses. Somewhere overseas, there's a PFC studying math. He looks to the Institute for help in getting a better rating. On a carrier in the South Pacific, there's a seaman who didn't finish a course in radio engineering. He's learning it on the way to Tokyo. There's a WAC in Algiers taking a course in accounting. She's got her eye on a better job after the war. How fast you learn is up to you. You're your own boss. The enrollment fee is $2, and that's all it costs you for as many courses as you want to study. Courses you complete may be submitted for credit in high school or colleges. How do you go about enrolling? In the Navy, you talk to your educational services officer. In the Army, you see your orientation officer. Or you can write to the United States Armed Forces Institute, Madison, Wisconsin.
or any one of its many overseas branches. Tell them what you'd like to study. It's their job to help you learn while you serve. There are over 500,000 men and women like you schooling themselves the Institute way. They know that education is a democracy's greatest weapon. Select the subject you've always wanted to learn. Don't delay it. Don't waste your time. Enroll now.
Oh, jet-assisted takeoff, a Navy jet unit which permits carrier aircraft to take off in less space or with heavier payloads. An engine in itself, each cylinder is full of a solid propellant which includes oxygen in the mixture so it can burn without air. It has an electrically controlled spark plug which sets it off, and a rocket-like vent through which the jet gases pass to give their thrust. The unit is fastened directly to the fuselage. The thrust, equivalent to 330 horsepower, is available through the takeoff period. JATO units allow 33 to 60% reduction in takeoff runs, or a great increase in load. Once airborne, the JATO unit is jettisoned. A TBF takes off, relying solely on propeller thrust. Now, a jet-assisted takeoff. Beside aiding carrier takeoffs, the device allows more deck space for extra aircraft. JATO gets these SB-2Cs aloft in a flash in the Pacific, where every second counts. And here we have the experimental great-great-grandfather of jet propulsion, or something.
I start also with the assumption that this country, as one of the great powers that has lifted the terrible shadow thrown across the world in the last 5 years, must retain its armed force and its willingness and ability to make swift use of it whenever nations such as Japan, Italy, or Germany get into the hands of either outlaws or maniacs. I assume that the United States Navy will be one of the great elements of that power, and I speak to you as a group of men who will be officers in the naval service. However, I'm constrained to remind you and your older associates of the Navy that while the trained Annapolis graduates are essential to our ability to conduct naval warfare, the support of the nation is essential to the support of the Navy, and that the Navy that is successfully fighting this war is a civilian Navy. 3,900,000 Americans constitute its. Of that number, 400,000 are officers, and only 11,000 plus of those were graduated from this academy. I remind you that the Navy has grown 30-fold in its enlisted personnel. 3.5 million today against 100,000 in 1940. Right now, we are up against the realization that to man the Navy that we hope and believe the Congress will provide for us after the war, we shall need very large numbers from the ranks of reserves who are now serving and fighting chiefly in the Pacific. The officers of the regular Navy in all commands must realize and accept the responsibility of convincing young men of promise that they have the same opportunities and the same chances that are available to the graduates of this academy. In other words, that the criteria of advancement are the basic American criteria: character, competence, and capacity for leadership.
New York, New York, travel around, New York is not like a battery down, to keep on riding all around, New York, New York. New York, New York, travel around, the town is not like a battery
When the folks are out front there, they kind of especially like my first number, so I thought I'd like to do it kind of especially for you. I'm a lady hack, see, and I'm on the town and on the make. Hey, come here. This guy's on a 24-hour pass, and he wants to see the sights of New York. But, I think he's kind of cute. So... Well, let's go up to my place.
Oh, I'd like to, lady, but...
Oh, come on. I'm young, free, and highly attainable.
Look, miss, for years my dad's been telling me about all the wonderful sights there are to see in New York, and, well, now I'm here.
All right. I'll take you any place you want to go. Then, up to my place. The same to you.
My father told me, Chip, my boy, there'll come a time when you'll leave home. If you should ever hit New York, be sure to see the Hippodrome.
The Hippodrome!
The Hippodrome.
Did I hear right? Did you say the Hippodrome?
Yes, you heard right. Yes, I said the Hip. Say, what did you stop for?
It ain't there anymore. The lights have all gone dark. It's now an auto park. Come up to my place.
No, Chambers Street. They told me I could see New York in all its spreading strength and power from the city's highest spot on top, the famous Woolworth Tower.
The Woolworth Tower.
The Woolworth Tower.
Beat me, Daddy. Did you say the Woolworth Tower?
I won't beat you, but I said the Wool. Did you stop for hey what?
That ain't the highest spot. You're just a little late. We've got the Empire State. Let's go to my place.
Let's go to Cleopatra's Needle.
Let's go to my place.
Let's see Wanamaker's store.
Let's go to my place.
Go to Lindy's, go to Luke
Go
Chow's.
to my place.
Let's see Radio City and Herald Square.
Let's go to my place.
Go to Rubens.
Go to my place.
Go to Macy's.
Go to my place.
The Roxy.
Go to my place.
Royster's,
My place.
Kimball's,
My place.
Flatiron,
My place.
Building.
My place.
Hippodrome.
My place. Wait a minute. I can cook. Well, this isn't in the show, but these gals are for you. Hello. Hello there, boys. Well, hello there. All right. That's enough of that. Hello. We'll pile into the cab and get on the town.
Pardon me, boy, is that the Chattanooga choo-choo?
A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4.
Pardon me, boy, is that the Chattanooga choo-choo? Frank Wayne, boy, you can give me a shot. I can afford to own a Chattanooga choo-choo. I've got my fare, and there's a trifling spare. You leave the Pennsylvania station about 3:15. Read a magazine.
Of course, you know who this is. What other team could run the bases so nimbly, so adroitly, so alertly, and so much finesse? And this is their colorful manager, Lippy Leo DeRocher. Why, sure. It's the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Ebbets Fielders, the Bums. The most colorful team in the major leagues.
Charlie will catch him for me then.
And now let's watch the way Leo gets the team into shape and into the headlines.
You look great. Come on, Sabina. Well, talk about your sieve infield. I got one here. Well, you know, come on, Brzezinski. Where are you playing? Get over there. Get those two out of the way and get over at shortstop. How are you going to get over here? Somebody will tie a horse to you.
Hold on the ball, Johnny.
You got to move around. Come on, Sandlot. How do you go this way? Come on. You look great.
Leo's always at his charming best during infield practice. If you play for DeRocher, you've got to have pepper and plenty of moxie. He'll ride the pants right off a greenhorn.
Hey, Tippy! You look great. Try it again. Oh, those big hops. You always get those big hops. Come on, Brownie. The Sandlot Wonder.
Come on. Hey.
Kiwanis League. Go on. Now pick it up and throw it. Oh, now look, you haven't got a bucket of paint with you on third base, you know. You've got to get the paintbrush out of your hand. Let's go. Now break you in right. Come on, Dix. Oh, there you are. Want to try it again? Want to try it for a Coca-Cola? Well, you better back up. You know, you're pretty close. You like the level ground, eh? Well, we'll give you one of those then.
Nice line of chatter Leo's got.
Good. Must have been playing in the closet all winter. Give him another one. Well,
Kind but firm, that's
come
Leo.
on, two-gun heart. I'll get you yet. Got you on the foot once, you know. Give one to third, will you, Leo? Hit one to third? Why, sure. Tie your shoes on, Dixie. Do your best now. This is for the movies. How's that? Did you get that? It was a dandy if it had stuck in your glove.
The Dodgers always do the unusual. This contraption is a control net for pitchers. It helps get the free walks out of the old soup bone, because anywhere inside the square is a strike. Leo's got some sluggers, too. Augie Gallan, Bordegaray, Blip himself, Adderholt, and, of course, Dixie Walker.
Well, fellas, that's the general picture of the Brooklyn Club for this coming year. But before leaving you, I'd like to just tell you how happy I was to be able to make the trip overseas. All I can say, fellas, is that I wouldn't have missed it for the world. It was a grand trip, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And I hope that you fellas are all home soon, and that the next time that I do get to see you fellas again, that you'll be back home in your favorite ballpark. Thanks very much, and good luck to all of you.
This is what Europe's like, now that the war is over and the Germans are beaten. These are a few of the millions of people who were once labor slaves of the Nazis, and who are now trying desperately to get home. Home to a little farm in Poland, home to a tiny coastal village in Normandy, home to Leningrad, 3,000 miles away. To the Allied military government, they're known as displaced persons. And not until they reach their various countries will there again be order in Europe. Obeying AMG's first instruction, the migrants leave the roads and move into the open fields, where they gather in groups of their own nationality. Footsore and weary, they wait patiently, anxiously. This mother wonders where she's going to get milk for her baby. This woman wants to know if her little girl will have to sleep in a ditch again tonight. Here, a GI attached to AMG interviews men who've lost their homes and their families and arranges to send them and as many others as possible back to one of the hundreds of displaced persons camps which already have been set up throughout Europe. Upon arrival, the children receive first attention. Children without mothers or fathers. Children orphaned by the bombs of battle, the deadly aim of the Nazi firing squad, the hot flames of an oven inside a German death factory. In peace as in war, English, Russians, French, Belgians, and Americans are working together, operating this displaced persons camp. The cooperation and unity that brought about victory is helping to bring order out of the suffering and chaos created by Hitler. After being interviewed, every displaced person undergoes a thorough physical examination. As these people have spread over Europe, disease has spread with them. And today, Europe is threatened with the same raging epidemics that wiped out millions of people after the last war. Typhus, encouraged by foul drinking water, bad food, and wretched sanitation, endangers not only these people, but the lives of the GIs who must occupy Germany. Come and get it. Food. Warm and nourishing food for stomachs gnawed with hunger and ruined by a diet of grass roots and leaves and bread mixed with sawdust. For years, these people starved so that the Germans could eat better than any other nation in Europe. Now, with victory, all this has changed. These people can get the proper amount of vitamins and calories every day, so a little of the damage done their health can be repaired. While waiting, each nationality is given its own quarters in the camp. Here they smoke, relax, and play cards without fear or nervousness for the first time in many years. Why do we and our allies help these people? Is it charity? Is it human kindness? Or is America a sucker to bother with these Europeans now that we've beaten Hitler? A little of human kindness for these people, yes, but not suckers. For today we realize that our half of the world, the American half, cannot remain well if the other half is sick. We realize that we must rehabilitate these displaced persons for our own interest and self-preservation as well as theirs. If we don't help these people now, then the chaos will continue indefinitely, and the seeds of a third world war will take root. In another 20 years, we don't want a child like this in uniform. For if he is, it will probably mean that our own children will be in uniform too. To guarantee the peace and the democratic future of every child in the world. That's why this Belgian baby or Russian baby or French baby or Polish baby is today under an Army woolen blanket marked U.S.
T3 Edgar Frank, now with our Army of Occupation in Germany, writes that he'd like to see a few newsreel shots of the Allied occupation of Germany after the last war. Okay, Sergeant Frank, here it is.
Here you are, Sergeant Frank. A few old-fashioned newsreel pictures, dim and scratched, showing the Allied armies moving in to occupy Germany after the last war. In those days, you didn't see any Jeeps or Shermans, and no German towns or cities were bombed and shelled into rubble. But the German people looked pretty much as they do today, outwardly quiet, passive, seemingly willing to admit they're licked and ready to think about peace. But as we know from the record, even as they quietly watched these Allied troops marching through their cities, the Germans were beginning to rearm secretly, and the German High Command was beginning to plan another war. The war you've just finished fighting, Sergeant Frank. "25 years ago, when these pictures were taken, the Germans were counting on the fact that none of these marching men would want to stay to police them for very long, that they'd get tired and quit. And how right the Germans were. For here was our mistake last time. the British, the Americans, and the French moved in and occupied this zone. They occupied too little and then pulled out too soon, leaving the Germans to occupy themselves.
There are many proud papas in the service, and most of them want to see pictures of their babies. Well, we figured we couldn't answer every father, so we put all the baby requests in a hat and picked out 3 winners. And here they are.
The little lady eating her chow is Diane Sandra Fine, aged 1 whole year. Sandra's father is Sergeant Bernard Fine, stationed as an Army mail clerk somewhere in India. That's right, Sergeant. That's the baby girl you've never seen because she was born after you left the States. All right, Sandra, give the sergeant a smile. Thank you. The second winner is proud Papa T5 Carl Christensen of the 464th Quartermaster Company, now located somewhere in the Pacific. After the show, Corporal, talk to the projectionist. Maybe you can get him to rerun these pictures of your baby boy and your wife. He may get tired, but we bet you won't. Earl M. Robertson, Yeoman Second Class. Here's your wife and both of your children. Little Terry, who's 18 months old, and your son Danny, aged 3. When we told your wife Geraldine that you'd probably be seeing these pictures, she asked if we'd mind including the rest of your family. And here they are coming out of your house back home in Roanoke, Virginia. So, here they are coming out of your house back home in Roanoke, Virginia. Yes, here they are, all right, coming out of your house back home in Roanoke, Virginia. Well, they certainly are coming out of your house. Well, you get the idea.
Here is power. Wild, raging torrents of unharnessed power. Not long ago, in the Tennessee Valley of America, when the river went on a rampage, farms, towns, industries were smashed. The energies of the river went to waste, and the energies of the people, too. For with every flood, water which should have soaked into the land ran off uselessly. Precious topsoil traveled with it, uselessly down to the sea. Millions of tons of good farming soil lost forever. But all this was before Congress created the Tennessee Valley Authority, the TVA, an experiment in one region which could serve as a yardstick for every region. And so, the dam builders came, 200,000 of them. Valley farmers and miners, mountaineers and city workers. To them, this was more than a job. They had a stake in what they were doing. They were building for themselves and for their children. Up in the mountains on the tributary streams, high dams back up reservoirs against the time of drought, releasing the water when needed, holding it in check when the rains come. Down the Tennessee River itself, wide dams give flood control step by step. Instead of alternate floods and drought, water can now be dispatched as trains are dispatched on a railroad system. These are the symbols of an American dream poured into solid concrete. Douglas, Guntersville, Cherokee, Wilson, Pickwick Landing, Chickamauga, Hiwassee, Appalachia, Norris, built for and owned by the people of the United States. Day and night, in peace and war, the rivers are harnessed for the people. Power for the factory, the cities and the villages, the farmers. Power that means jobs and better living for you when the war is over. For in America, we do things in a big way, and they pay off in a big way. The highest dam in the world, 726-foot Boulder Dam on the Colorado River, irrigating millions of acres of desert from the world's largest man-made body of water, Lake Mead, 115 miles long. 602-foot Shasta, one of the principal sources of water and electric power in Southern California. Grand Coulee Dam on the Columbia River, 4,200 feet long, 550 feet high, the biggest thing ever built by man. It turns up 324,000 kilowatts of electricity, enough to pour a veritable stream of aluminum into West Coast aircraft plants. And farther down the Columbia's rapids is Bonneville Dam, another colossus. Nothing was overlooked. Even the famous Columbia River salmon have ladders to help them upstream to the spawning beds. Ultimately, the Columbia River Basin will provide 1,200,000 acres of rich irrigated farmland, enough to support 30,000 farm families. And so, the harnessing of America's rivers goes on, providing power and fertility to win the war today and to make America an even better place to live in tomorrow.
Hello. I suppose some of you are wondering what I'm doing here. Well, you see, some of you fellows have written to me and requested a real good pinup picture of me in nothing but a bathing suit. So, here I am. Oh, I have a lot of other bathing suits at home, but the photographer told me you would like this one the best. Because I'm a pin-up girl. That's what they name me. I'm the kid who loves you all. Don't be shy. Come on and frame me. Stick me in your locker or against the wall. Pin-up girl. You've all embraced me. I'm your dream, your gay mirage. Many eyes have sweetly faced me. I am yours for tacks or pins or mucilage. At night while you count sheep, I'm watching o'er your bed from above. And while you're fast asleep, baby, I know what you're dreaming of. Your pin-up girl. My clothes are daring. They're not much, I must confess. But I swear I'll go on wearing less and less for my pin-up dress. If it will bring you happiness, all my charms for you unfurl. I'm your little pin-up girl. Oh, shine on, harvest moon, up in the sky. I ain't had no lovin' since January, February, June or July. Snow time ain't no time to stay outdoors and spoon. So shine on, harvest moon, for me and my gal.